这些人要么丢失了，要么找不着了，要么被抓了，要么进在监狱里，要么自杀了。而且绝大多数人都有一个共同的死法，叫堕落死。因为那里有一个独裁的政党，叫共产党。海航是代表共产党在西方的一个间谍平台、洗钱平台和对西方政治进行蓝金黄的渗透平台。
1年多已卖了3500多亿，是全世界数第1号。
Over 2 events, one that happened in London earlier in the spring, and then one that happened in Turkey several weeks ago. The one in the spring was the poisoning of Russian dissidents or Russian citizens in London. And the one the last couple of weeks was looks like the killing of a Washington Post columnist, Khashoggi, in Turkey. And both these situations, as tragic as they were, created an international media firestorm. Well, what we're here today, and Miles Guo is going to walk you through, is something that's quite frankly stunning. Literally hundreds, if not thousands, of the best and the brightest of the Chinese people are either missing, have been imprisoned, have committed suicide, have died under mysterious circumstances, or have had their assets taken from them and are impoverished. And the world's media today has not connected the dots, or there's literally been no outrage. Now, this is not 1 or 2 isolated cases, and these are not people who are not insignificant in media, in their corporate life, in the financial life, in government, in the military. It's across the board, and it's men and it's women. It is absolutely stunning that this could go on in a culture, a global culture that's connected by media, and there's literally crickets. Well, that ends today. And it ends because one man's prepared to stand up and say, he's not prepared to tolerate this, and he will use every asset at his disposal to bring truth to this, to make sure the Chinese people do not come under any more assault as they're already coming from the Chinese Communist Party and the senior leadership of the CCP. Today is about recklessness and accountability. As many people in the world, and particularly in the world's financial centers, are starting to understand, the Chinese Communist Party and the senior leadership of the CCP have acted financially recklessly over the last 10, 15, or 20 years. And that printing of currency and increasing of debt and everything that that's causing and will cause in the future, I believe, in a coming financial crisis, can be seen in the example that Miles Guo is going to walk through today. We have one of the, if not the largest financial company in the world, that has essentially been created from a very small company, and from 2014 to 2018 became, I think, arguably the largest financial company in the world, with the aid and support of major Western financial institutions and major financial players in the West. And the question has to be, how reckless was this? Who benefited from this? Who owns this? Who took these assets from the Chinese people? Who profited off this? Who looked the other way?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show, The Legal Battle of the Century, and today is episode 20. And today is 2022, October 14th. I'm Rachel, and today will be just me because Nicole is busy with other stuff. So from this week, starting this week, Monday will be me and Nicole. Both of us will be hosting the show, but then on Friday it will be just me, Rachel. So today you get me. So we were on the topic of the death of Wang Jian, and this is a complicated case. And today, and hopefully next Monday, we will wrap up everything on this topic and move on to the rest of the case of Miles Guo and PAX. So, but today we're going to give you more questions rather than answers because we're going to look into some suspicious, points emerged from this investigation processes, and we will show you some of the text message that we mentioned in previous shows, and we will continue with the 5 questions we were on. We mentioned 2 questions. We kind of we put 2 doubts there, but today we're going to continue with building on those doubts that unfolded throughout the investigation of the case of the death of Wang Jian. And so let's dive in. So slide number 2, just a kind of an overview of where we are. We're still on this green part on the slide number 2 because we were on the Wang Qishan and HNA deal, but this is the last part of that deal, so we almost done. So hopefully you have the patience with us to stay with us until now. And then the next slide's just kind of a recap. I'm afraid that you might not listened or watched our last episode. So just so you know, the evidence that we share with you are no one have those evidence out there. Not all of them. They might have bits and pieces of them depending which parties they are. But we've managed. So actually, Miles managed to obtain all those crucial evidence from different sources, and those sources including the insider from the French government who are laid their hands on the investigation, or whoever we don't know, and Miles didn't, of course he wouldn't say, and also the insiders from the CCP, Ministry of State Security, and Ministry of Public Security, whoever follow the whistleblower movement and believe that we have a chance to take down the CCP and wanted to help us, they provided information as well. So that is why we have a collection of evidences and documents that has never been seen by the public. Actually, a lot of authorities has managed to cover it up to today. So this is the slide number 3. I showed you a screenshot of July 3rd, 2022. That was the live streaming that Miles did on Getter with our 4 fellow fighters. And in that particular show, Miles shared that only the whistleblower movement has the wisdom, courage, and resources, including human resources and financial resources, to collect all the details regarding Wang Jian's death. And our fellow fighters are everywhere. So in the previous show, Nicole also mentioned some of the Wang Jian's wife's family, like wife's brother and the niece, I think a niece, was also one of the fellow fighters of the whistleblower. So they actually provided us a lot of secrets, basically. And the person was helping, Wang Jian's wife, the survivor, to arrange all the funerals, all the financial matters. So he got a lot of tips, and he gave us a lot of tips because his relationship. Okay, so because her relationship, it's actually niece. So then we also obtained the 6 investigation teams that Miles sent over to the crime scene. We've managed to obtain the surveillance videos, equipment of the hotel and restaurants where Wang Jian died at the time. And the first-hand interview with everyone around the crime scene. Although, the very first time that the testimony provided by the witness are differ later on from the testimony that we obtained from other sources. But we've managed to obtain a large amount of information. That's why, because of the conflicting testimonies, I think as of today, Miles did not share with us the definitive conclusion about how Wang Jian basically is murdered. I mean, we have inks. He shared his, speculations on things, but said, all the evidence has to be verified, and the case can only be concluded when all the witnesses that involved in this case being charged, being investigated, and redo their testimonies, and this has to happen. And also, the burial site of Wang Jian's body has to take out into subjects to another forensic investigation before everything can be, concluded. So anyway, we will share with you maybe in our last show in this topic in Wang Jian's death about what Miles thinking how Wang Jian died, his speculation. So we will do it in the next episode. So let's move on. Just quickly go through some slides that we did last week, but I want to go to the one that we wanted to show today. But let's first do the slides 4. Quickly go over it. Slides 4, we showed you the slides in our last show. We talk about those 4 people that is showing in the picture that on the scene. I'm not sure because Miles didn't share whether they were, this photo was taken right before Wang Jian's death or right after Wang Jian's death. I don't know. So he didn't say that. He didn't mention that in the show. But anyway, these 4 people are very close to Wang Jian. They all presented in Wang Jian's deadly trip to France. So the first 3, so 5, 6, 7 are male, and they are supposed to be the bodyguard and secretary. And the number 6 person is particular kind of a strange because he was Wang Qishan's bodyguard, and he was sent by Wang Qishan, maybe accompanied, Wang Jian on this trip. Who knows? But 5 and 7 are really close to Wang Jian. They are considered his bodyguard and secretaries. And then number 8 is a female, is the only female, I guess, interpreter on this in the picture, and his name is Zhou Tiantian or Lu Yanli. So she was working, at the time in Confucius Institute in France. So basically, she was given this task to accompany Wang Jian to this, to his last trip. Basically. So, and you notice that they all have the figure 6 and the person 8 has a different name. So they all, I don't know why they all have a different name. Maybe, that's just it speaks loudly to their real identity. So, but anyway, they could call Shun Jinghao or Pei Nan, or the interpreter's name is Zhou Tiantian or Lu Yanli. So anyway, next slide number 5. So we laid out in our last show about the time sequence on the day of Wang Jian's death. So starting from 9:05 when he was having his breakfast to all the way in the afternoon when Wang Jian's body was taken away by the police from the scene and heading for the morgue. And we raised a lot of questions, say why to morgue? Kind of it's strange, when paramedics be sent on the scene, they always taking them to hospital, regardless whether the people died or whatever. They always, basically in North America, I think that's the norm, right? So this is kind of out of ordinary. So we kind of posed a lot of questions already, but we're not gonna go through it again. So quickly to the next slide number 6. So we're starting, we're starting talking about those suspicious points or suspicious aspect of this case. And this is the first one. So slide 6 mentioned about the Chinese Communist Party sent 5 members of State Security Committee immediately after the incident and disguised as diplomats to the province to coordinate the handling of the incident, a swift response that is unprecedented. Okay, so they basically, Wang Jian died on July 3rd, 2018. And basically among, from 12 o'clock to maybe 2, somewhere between there, because according to the witness, 11:30, Wang Jian's still alive, right? Because we mentioned this in the last show. So, but very swiftly, very quickly, on the same day, those guys arrived basically in the midnight, close to midnight, like at 23:50 something, because I reviewed the videos, the hotel recording videos that Miles posted online. It was showing that they arrived at 11:50 something. And then after that, they started holding meetings with HNA's senior people. so in the hotel. So they, you know, the video shows that they walk into, how many people actually walk into a place, because they didn't show on, it's just a hallway. They're showing they all walk towards the same place, and you can counting how many people. And 5 of them are from the State Security Committee. So it's kind of a strange, how can they react so fast? Like, it's basically literally less than like 13 hours. Like, yeah, less than 12, 13 hours, they're there. Like, there's a lot of protocols, right? If this is a diplomatic, this is international investigation, needs a lot of coordination. There's a process to follow, but, you know, I don't know what's happened. So I'm going to show you. And on the slide number 6, there is a picture there, and I highlighted number 2. And I think why they appear so fast. You know, first of all, it speaks to how powerful the CCP is. You know, how much planning they have already done, maybe ahead of time, who knows, maybe ahead. That's why they can appear, you know, at the right spot at the right time so fast, right? And what they're trying to cover is really trying to cover their overseas and maybe French intelligence network that have been building. I don't know, I'm just a speculation here, but Miles mentioned 3 reasons why Wang Jian has to die. The very first one is personal, because he knows too much about Wang Qishan's family and how he embezzles funds and he's, you know, heinous crimes. So he has to go. But the second reason is really the CCP and restricted warfare strategy, which is cover and hide their overseas intelligence network and destroy, you know, American and to be the #1 superpower. So I think this is probably why they're sending, rather than the diplomats, but 5 members of State Security Committee. And number 3, the last one, is deceiving the Chinese people, which is, you know, the last reason, because when Hainan HNA has a huge load of debt. They're like 80% of their basically company is basically leveraged the debt from the Chinese banks. So the banks basically are collecting the savings from the deplorables. So in order to hide the real reason why those money are gone, they have to find a scapegoat, and Wang Jian become that financial scapegoat. So that is why. So I quickly explain this again. So number 7, I want to show you something. This was actually shared by Miles on November 20th, 2019, which is 1-year anniversary of the press conference of Wang Jian's death, where you saw the clip that I played in the intro, where Bannon, you know, delivered a speech. That's that day. That's the initial press conference in 2018, and this is 1 year after that exactly date. So in this live streaming, Miles shared a top secret that he obtained from the CCP insider. Okay, so, and this is all Chinese, so kind of I interpret it a little bit. This is a letterhead. Basically, this is a Chinese government. It's called International Cooperation Department, the Ministry of Justice of the People's Republic of China, sent an official demand or request letter, basically, to the French government. And on the top 5 lines, it spitted out the agencies in French side, the receivers. So they addressed this letter to those 5 agencies. So they including the Justice Department, they including the Criminal Investigation and Exemption, International Criminal Justice Office, and Republic of French, blah blah. So there is 5 agencies. He listed there, the letter has all the names of those agencies. And then basically it was a request for mutual legal assistance in criminal matters. Okay, but this interesting thing is this letter is dated July 10th, 2018. Although I didn't show you the dates because the dates was the last page. There's quite a bit page. I didn't capture all the screenshots, but just the first screenshots and showed you there. At the end, you know, the Chinese officials in the State Ministry of Justice signed, and it dated July 10th. So, but my question is, the 5 state security officials arrived on the same day, July 3rd, but the letter is actually July 10th asking for legal assistance in cooperation in Wang Jian's investigation. So, I'm sure there's a lot of story to it. And in this particular letter that Miles shared, and he actually, in the live streaming, he went through pages, and some of the pages mentioning about some confidentiality clause, and prohibited the French government from sharing the contents of this letter with the third party. Okay, I'm not sure why they're doing that, but they say they cannot share this content of this request letter with the third party, and then they have mentioned who they have to contact in terms of the Chinese side. You have to have a designated contact person. They can't contact any other people besides these people. So the letter is quite specific, but I wouldn't show you all those contents, but you get that. The dated July 10th, but the 5 Chinese guy, state security guy, has already been there on the same day as Wang Jian's death. Okay, next page, slide 8. This is interesting. So slide 8, this is a screenshot of that 2019 live stream on November 18th. So this form, it's a little bit kind of a blurry because it's a screenshot, so I apologize for that. I tried my best to capture the best one, but it's still not clear. But this form, you actually can find it online. If you want to just type post-mortem and Interpol DBI form. DBI, I think I forgot what's it stand for. Something investigation, something. But I can't remember what it stands for. And if you search online, you will find it. And then dash unidentified human remains. Basically, this is a form for a post-mortem for autopsy. Yeah, did I say it right? The words for forensic, for the coroner to fill out. Basically, they have to doing a body full autopsy and then fill out the forms. The form is 19 pages long, so basically detailing every parts of this body, basically, eyes, eyebrows, hearts, like everything. It's detailed. So obviously this form has already been filled, right? Because you can tell, like on the screen, although it's not very clear, but there's kind of a gray kind of ink Miles showed you. And according to Miles, this is a report that the French government gave to Meng Hongwei. In our last 2 shows, we've mentioned about who Meng Hongwei is, right? Meng Hongwei is the president of Interpol at that time, who later on mysteriously disappeared. Okay, and then find out he disappeared in China. China disappeared him and detained him, and he was sentenced later on in 2020 January for 13 years in jail. Right? So this is Meng Hongwei's story. I'm not going to repeat it because we already mentioned it. So Interpol, the head of Interpol, received this form from French government on July 8th. The form is dated on July 8th. Okay, so that's even stranger, right? So the request for international cooperation letter was dated in July 10th. But Meng Hongwei, the Chinese CCP member, who is also the vice minister of the public security of the People's Republic of China at the time when he was appointed as the head of Interpol, he has already received this post-mortem, those forms from Interpol on July 8th. So, we can easily make a conclusion that those protocols, those letters, those everything is, fall behind. The presence of the presence of the Chinese secret police, right? Because the 5 people has arrived on the scene, has already holding meetings, secret meetings with HNA on the day of, in the midnight, in the next day morning, early morning, because they arrived on July 3rd, 11 something, and then they start meeting right away. So they didn't waste any minute of it, okay? But this is kind of a worth pondering. Why? Okay, why? And those documents Meng Hongwei obtained, and later on, gave it to the CCP, and they locked in the safe box. They thought nobody would ever actually lay hands on them. And you know what? Miles School got it. Whistleblower got it. So all of those documents you've seen, either from the CCP or from the French side, whoever helped the whistleblower movement, whoever believed that, we should fight the evil CCP, and they gave us the tip. So anyway, this is a postmortem Interpol DVI form for Wang Jian. So the forms has Wang Jian's parts that studied. Okay, so the next slide, number 9, and this slides I've already talked about in last episode, so I'm gonna jump. So this is a testimony. There's a lot of testimony that Miles went through on the day of the 1-year anniversary of the press conference. So in 2019, he actually spent, I would say, probably a good 40 minutes to read many people's testimonies, and a lot of them actually did more than one testimonies. The police questioned them at the different time, because the second time was arranged by Meng Hongwei, the head of Interpol. So there's all over the contradictory, the discrepancies, the opposite things all over the place. So the testimony, because the number of testimonies, they're lying. That you can so clearly see that they're lying. Even one person, answered the question completely different from the very first time, from the second time. I'm not going to show you, because this is garbage. This is a wasting of time, because they're just trying to collude, but they didn't do a good job for some reason. The witnesses, the gardener, the waiters, and later on, these are complicated and they're contradictory. So I think whoever wanted to look at this case, they have a lot to climb soon. But it's not very difficult to tell that they're trying to hide something. This is completely ridiculous, because no one would be able ever take those witnesses and turn a blind eye on those contradictories and say the case is closed. Nobody can do that. Not even a layman. Just the common sense. If you follow your common sense, you would say this is something seriously wrong here. So I'm not going to go over the testimony with you, but just give you an example. And this is what I did in the last show. So I'll move on to the slide number 10. So slide number 10, this is what we wanted to show you. This has been tested out multiple times by the 6th investigation team sent by Miles. So as you see the picture on here, this is where Wang Jian fall. So he fall probably 10 to 12 meters, from the top to the bottom. But in order to walk from where the parking lot entrance is to where the top, where the short wall is, where Wang Jian fall, it took only 6 minutes from where Wang Jian's car parked to the photo shooting site. However, the test, they did a number of tests, it should be tests, find that even a person with a regular exercise, so even you're a fitted person, kind of athletic, doing, your runs every day, running from the parking lot to the small garden, which is on the top, where Wang Jian fall, the entire path takes at least 10 minutes. So there's a lot of steps to climb, and they're not even. And if you're running, it takes you at least 10 minutes to get on the top. Not to mention Wang Jian, who was 57 and, okay size, but a lack of exercise. Okay, so this is a questionable. So how did he manage to, if we hold the testimony, if we believe what the witness who accompanied Wang Jian on the scene and later on told the police, if we hold that true, then this is seriously wrong, because you can't make it. You can make it to the top in less than 10 minutes, even though you were a very fitted person. Okay, so this is a question. We're gonna put it here, and this is very suspicious. And I don't know the answer. The answer might be this is not the crime scene, right? So there's a lot to Wang Jian's fall or Wang Jian's death. Did Wang Jian really fall? This is my question. Okay, if he can get onto the top, so did that really happen? So what on earth happened that day? So, but Miles didn't share. We don't know. So, but this is definitely something I want you to know. So the next slide's 11. So Wang Jian's body was close to the cliff wall. So according to the witness, this is I think this is, I'm not sure this is the gardener or this is the waiter that we mentioned in the last, because I've never seen him, what he looked like. But this is witness lying down against the wall. And Wang Jian's body was close to the cliff wall, and the area around the scene of the body was very clean, without any trace of heavy objects falling. So you would imagine, with such an old kind of a wall with the stone loosely fitting together, and it's unstable, it's unsafe, like you were thinking that when you jump, you would have, small bits and pieces falling with you, So, but here, it's very clean. There's nothing, without any trace of the heavy objects falling. Instead, Tianding, where we say it was the subject's, I think, let me see, what's his number? I can't remember his name. Tianding is number 5, the one with the black jacket on the day of. So, okay, Tianding, instead, Tianding, who was with Wang Jian, was covered with dust. So there is reason to suspect that this was not the first scene of the crime. Here we go. Okay, so basically on the in the live streaming, Miles mentioned there are 3 people, right? We showed you that in the photo beginning. It was 5, 6, 7, 3 male and 1 female, 8 interpreter. According to the witness, they all say they only saw 2 people accompany Wang Jian, not the third. And later on, Miles, although the witness didn't know who is who, the Chinese might look very similar to them, so they don't know who is Tianding, who is Pei Nannan, who is Li Ning. But later on, Miles confirmed that the one that was missing, the witness did not see at the scene with Wang Jian's body, was Pei Nannan, or Sun Jinghao. His other name is Sun Jinghao, and he was the bodyguard of Wang Qishan. He was not seen on the scene. But the Li Ning and Tianding, so the people number 5 and people number 7, was with Wang Jian's body. And according to the witness, these 2 gentlemen are actually doing acupuncture, needling. So they actually have needle. I actually have a couple photos of needles on the ground where the police took the pictures of evidence. They take the evidence, the pictures. I have a bunch of them, and one needle is actually blue. Okay, it's a blue colored needle. There's a number of them. So it's kind of a support what the validate what the witness has been telling. The gardener or the waiter, I'm not sure which one is it, but has been saying that there are needles. Okay, so I don't know why Tianding and Li Ning are doing needles acupuncture when somebody is falling from the wall. I mean, this is completely strange. Even with the Chinese Asian medicine, we don't use acupuncture, to try to revive somebody just to fall from a high wall. This is ridiculous. Never heard of it. So this is number 11, and the picture at the bottom right is Wang Jian's picture. So that's Wang Jian's leg and Wang Jian's shorts, blue shorts, and you can see there's a foam a little bit on the top besides his left leg. Okay, so it looks very clean. It doesn't look like somebody just climbed the wall and fall. So the whole thing, the crime scene is very clean. Okay, so that backs to the question I just mentioned. If this is not the first scene of the crime, where was it? Was it on the car or was it somewhere else? How did they do it? We have no clue. We only know there's more questions than answers. Okay, so next. I want to show you some Tianding, as I mentioned, the person number 5, marked as 5. He is the personal assistant or bodyguard of Wang Jian for quite a while. So this is Tianding's cell phone messages. So in the 1-year anniversary press conference, Miles shared, the text message records from the French. From the French, I don't know, maybe cell phone services, mobile services providers, and it's very detailed. I didn't took the screenshots because it has French and it has Chinese. I just only translated the actual text message here for you. So I remembered it's a French, I don't know, but I can tell it's T-I-E-N, Tians, and then they're all a text message, including the time the text message was sent, including the number, the phone number, and including, and I don't know what, the message itself, and including other things. I can't remember what it is, maybe a code or something. It was a printout from a service provider. Okay, so there's a number of text messages I want to share with you that really raise everybody's eyebrow. So this one is sent. I shouldn't say sent because I don't know whether it's sent or received, but I only know this is Tianding's cell phone because Miles didn't mention it. It's sent or received. It's just a text message on his phone. So this is 2018 July 2nd. So this is a day prior to Wang Jian's death. Okay, so this is around 4:18. They actually have exactly, I think, a 52 or something, 4:18. 52 seconds. They precise to the seconds, but I didn't record the seconds. So here I'm gonna read it for you guys. So it say Beijing and Leon's Hmong boss have been arranged. Okay, so Leon's Hmong boss. Leon, in our previous show we mentioned Interpol's headquarters is in Lyon, France. Right? So from Lyon, France, driving to the crime scene, which is Bonnex, is about 3 hours drive. So Meng Hongwei, the head of Interpol at that time, was based in Lyon. So when they say Lyon's Hmong boss, that means Meng Hongwei, the head of Interpol. Of course, Beijing, and maybe referring to the 5 members of the state security. That's why they so fast appearing, first thing, the crime scene right after Wang Jian's death. So maybe this is my interpretation, but this is what the text say. Beijing and Lyon's Hmong boss has been arranged. Okay, Chairman Wang. So Chairman Wang refers to Wang Jian because Wang Jian was the chairman of HNA. Okay, so Chairman Wang have been informed to meet the person of the big boss Wang in the church. So the big boss Wang refers to Wang Qishan. Okay, Wang Qishan and HNA, the whole thing, the whole show, we've spending 10 episodes on Wang Qishan and HNA, on the number one kleptocrats in back in communist China is Wang Qishan. Okay, how he managed to hide his wealth stolen and how he, committed other crimes. So anyway, so big boss Wang Qishan in the church. The local police and the people who arrived have been arranged. This is scary because it says the local police and the people. Okay, who are they? They must be referring to the French, the paramedics or whoever, the police, whoever, the first responder, whoever received the police phone calls regarding to this, or the dispatchers, whatever, the paramedics, the firefighters, and I don't know, the local police and the people who arrived have been arranged. Maybe I translated wrongly because I shouldn't say who arrived because they haven't arrived yet. Who will arrive have been arranged. Yeah, I should do that. So I should change the tense of the sentence. Sorry for the translation. So who will arrive has already been arranged. Do not be nervous when this plan is completed. Okay, what plan? What are they referring to? It's say, do not be nervous when the plan is completed. Do not go home. Okay, pay. So this is another person. Remember that I said the third person that not presented at the scene after Wang Jian's death, like Wang Jian's body was laying there, and Pei Nannan or Sun Jinghao, another name, wasn't there according to the witness. Right, only 2 people was there, and now he resurfaced here and in this text message. So he said, Pei will arrange the time for you to come down. Okay, so this tells me that everything is orchestrated. It's kind of a staged, right? Only you stage the theme that you would say, oh, you will appear this time, you will do this, and don't be nervous. Once this completed, blah, 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 right? Okay. Tomorrow, boss Hua. So remember that we mentioned the another person, Gerard Huabing, the president of Foundation France China, and also the biggest Chinese arms dealer in France. In France, boss Gerard Huabing has arranged everything. Again, here we go. Pei will arrange the time for you to come down. So they kind of are watching how things going, right? They have an initial plan, but they don't have everything down to details because there's still things they have to adjust according to how things flow that day. So they say, okay, we will arrange the time for you to come down, and tomorrow Boss Hua has arranged everything. Why Boss Hua? Because Boss Hua is, maybe spent the most of life in France. I remember I read his bio. He went to France when he was 18 years old, and he looks old because he's walking a walking stick, and he spent majority of his adulthood in France. So that means he must well connected with his big shots. Like he's a big investors and rich people, arms dealers, biggest arms dealers in France. He must have a lot of network, a lot of assets. So he has arranged everything. You definitely need people like him to do that kind of thing. So please act accordingly. So please act accordingly to the plan. Sorry, I probably did this using a Google Translate, and I didn't verify it very carefully. So it should say, so please act accordingly to the plan. Do not panic. After completing the task, give me this form of yours immediately. So, okay, they want to destroy evidence. And later give me a color copy of Chairman Wang's green card. Right? Remember to have Chairman Wang sign the documents. Okay, this is a lot of information here. So after completing the task, give me your phone, and I will, do what I need to do to erase all the evidence. And later on, give me a copy of Chairman Wang's green card. Why do they need Chairman Wang Jian's green card? To do with moving assets? To do with moving money? To work with bank? I don't know. I'm just speculation. Remember to have Chairman Wang sign the documents. Okay, so a dead person cannot sign the documents, but please do sign the documents before he's dead. Basically, that's why the text is on July 2nd, 4 p.m. And according to Miles, in that night at midnight on July 3rd, early morning, midnight, after they finished their supper, past midnight, basically, Wang Jian went to his hotel room, and then their ladies, the French ladies, came after him, went to his room, and then, took some documents and left. So not sure whether these are the documents that they mentioned. Remember to have Wang Jian sign the documents, and I'm sure the documents has to do with money. Moving money around, because all those people are playing the highest advanced level of money laundering, and so anyway, before he died, you need to see him sign, and you need his green card. So I'm going to show you Wang Jian's real identity, and this is also blurred out by Miles on the same day, on November 20th, 2019. Here you go. So slide number 13. So Wang Jian has, according to Miles, Wang Jian is very mysterious, as we can see, from his passport, his identity. So Wang Jian has lots of passports. So on the screen, I showed you, Miles showed you two passports, basically. They're all issued by the People's Republic of China, but the passport number are different. Although his birthday are the same, right? They're 1961. The signature of him is same. But look at the valid date and issue date of this passport. One is issued in 2015, February 15th. And the valid date is issued to 2025, February 14th. And the other one on the right is issued at 2017 in January 12th. And then all the way to 2027, January 11th. So normally, one person only have one passport coming from one country, right? But Wang Jian has two. But according to Miles, he has multiple. It's not just two. He only showed us two, but he has lots. And on the screen at the bottom part, on the bottom left, that's a green card. That's Wang Jian's American green card. Okay, although it's not very clear because I took it from the screenshot. But Miles told us that Wang Jian is very mysterious and is the highest level of the Department of Security Special Agent. So he is a permanent U.S. green card holder, holding a Chinese diplomatic passport and multiple Chinese passports, holding diplomatic exemption visas for more than 100 countries. Wang Jian is very complicated and powerful. Okay, I've heard there's some countries offer golden visas or something to allow people to come in, like you pay a hefty price and you can purchase one. But Wang Jian has so many Chinese passports. That alone, the fact alone, that is strange. And this is loudly speaks to, the work that he does. The work he has been doing for those kleptocrats and using the nations, using the sake of a country, and to do those secret, dirty little thing for a few kleptocrats who managed to secure their power in the nation. And in order to fool everybody, he has to mask himself as a successful business person, and that's Wang Jian. So because he knows too much, he needs to die. So we already talked about that. So this is something I thought I show you. And then we go to the slide 14. So we continue with another cell phone messages of Tianding. And this messages, I didn't capture exactly the time, but it was sent after 4:18 p.m. because this was appeared afterwards. But it only showed the July 2nd because when Miles presented the documents, the time got cut off. So that is why I don't know the time, but I know it's before Wang Jian's death, but after the first text message that I showed you. So on this text message, it says, tomorrow, the storage place has been arranged. Do not go there. Again, the whole thing is staged, okay? It's basically pre-planned and premeditated a murder. And who play which role, who appears what, who says what, maybe coordinated, do not go there. I don't know, what does it mean, the storage place? Does it mean the morgue for Wang Jian's body, or does it mean something else? Maybe we read on, maybe we'll have a clue. So after tomorrow, do not contact your family. Okay. Please transfer the contents of that safe to me. You must follow the plan decided in Beijing. Here we go. And then it keep on saying, you will be a hero of the country. And it is confirmed that the number 157 house in New York is yours. I mean, that text alone, I feel, this is, the French police should not close the case in 6 days. I mean, this is crazy. Like tomorrow, the storage place is being arranged, and do not contact your family because you did something really wrong, and don't tell everybody, and transfer the contents of the safe to me. So what that contents is? Are they signed documents? Are they money? Are they something to verify that you are the owner of the money? Now the money belongs to you? I don't know. But it says you must follow the plan decided in Beijing. So who is in Beijing? Obviously, Wang Qishan is in Beijing, isn't it? Wasn't he? So you will be a hero of the country. This is a part that, this is often strange. We're talking about the kleptocrats, the individual criminals, and those terrorists. They're really terrorists, actually. And using a country, they're leveraging their people, the 1.4 deplorables who know nothing about what they've been doing. And they are, for everything you did is for the sake of country, but the money went to their own pocket. This is the deception that they play from the get-go. And I mean, I'm speechless. So it says, when you did this, I will give you the house plus cash. So the house is already confirmed. The house in New York is yours once you done this. Once you killed a person, murdered, a person, you get this. Okay, next slides. This is the last piece of a text message I want to share with you. This is a little bit lengthy. And this has actually happened after Wang Jian's death. So the time, I managed to seeing the time clearly on the screen, showed by Miles. It's actually 2018, July 3rd at 2 p.m. 2:02 basically. It is say, hello Secretary Sun, sorry to bother you. The 150 million yuan loan, so 150 million RMB yuan loan that HNA Group's headquarters should repay today has not been received. Okay, so basically this is a creditor, asking for repaying the loan. So they contact the secretary, and somehow, I don't know why this message was forwarded to Tian Ding's phone, maybe forwarded, I don't know. Therefore, we have to make an overdue announcement in accordance with the regulations. Okay? Yeah, because they overdue. They didn't pay, the loan according to the contract. So, the person, whoever sent this message and saying that we have to make overdue announcements, our clients have lawyers. They strongly urge us to go through the legal channels. We have applied to the court for pretrial preservation. Some reporters and clients threaten to expose this matter through media. We are also worried that this would affect HNA's reputation. Previously, HNA had a debt restructuring plan. Although we are not satisfied, but considering the need to tide over the difficulties together, we still reluctantly agreed. So it's amazing, like 150 million yuan loan is nothing for a company that is 180 billion in assets. Could you imagine that? Their annual profits like 600 billion something, if I remember correctly, or maybe it's a revenue 6 billion. Yeah, revenue 600 billion annually, but they could not make 150 million yuan. Okay, so if it divided by 6, I mean, it's only like 20 million US dollars, and they couldn't. They are already overdue. So it tells you at that time in 2018, how bad the financial, health was at the time for HNA. But outside, they're still, promoting their strong. Remember the interview that Wang Jian did that year, just a few months ago? They're still strong. They're issuing bond, 10-point-some billion yuan bond, a corporate bond. Remember that? That was just in June. In 2018, right? So, but now they can't even pay 150 million yuan, but they don't want to tell people the truth because they know if they tell people the truth, they can no longer, deceive those people to invest in HNA. They want to painting a very prosper, thriving, bustling business image to everyone outsider. But within, they're collapsing. They can't even make 100 million yuan loan. And so let's continue. Let's say, although we are not satisfied, but considering the needs to tide over difficult times, yeah, because they're already on the same cart. So even the cart is heading to cliff. They still wanted to see some different, they want to see the trends to be reversed, but that's just their, wishful thinking, I guess. We still reluctantly agreed. Furthermore, we have gone through approval procedures internally and are waiting for HNA's reply. Your reputation should be maintained by you. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, HNA should maintain their reputation for sure. We can only help as much as possible. There isn't much we can do. If you cannot repay ASAP, please report this to Chairman Wang. I guess this is why Chairman Wang has to die, hey? Because if he died, HNA has the best reason. They can blame Chairman Wang for taking on those irresponsible debts and not be able to repaying those clients, and then the bank or whatever insurance they bought can write off the bad debts and telling the deplorables, say sorry, the bad guy has already died. This is really hard to swallow. Okay, so this is Tian Ding's secret cell phone messages. So if you are not an investigator, if you're not a police, if you're not a forensic, investigators. I mean, if I read all the 3 text messages, I think you already know there's a lot more story to this Wang Jian's death, right? But to the contrary, let's see the next slides. Slides number 16. So slide number 16, I managed to snap 2 screenshots put on by Miles on November 20th, 2019. So the very first picture, it says, official investigation result of the French government. So the French government and police closed the case 6 days after Wang Jian's death and deleted all the video evidence collected at the time, while warning local residents who may have witnessed the whole incident to keep quiet. And even made threats against the Hong Kong investigation team sent by Mr. Guo, who suspected that the French police's move were most likely directed by the CCP. And I'm not sure if you are, I'm not sure whether we have any French citizens watching this show or not, but if not, that's okay. If anybody, like, you would imagine, you probably not be able to imagine that the French police and the French government, despite all those contradictory testimonies, despite all those questions and not be answered, they can actually hastily close the case in 6 days. Like, why would they do that? Under the pressure of the CCP? Very, very likely, just like what this person suspected, the Hong Kong investigation team sent by the Miles, and the guy and his family back in Hong Kong was threatened and by the CCP. So why CCP threatening those independent investigation team on there? And they actually detained, I remember Miles mentioned they detained their family members just to send a message to ask them to stop. So why the CCP are so scared? What do they wanted to hide? And why does the French government just, go along with what the CCP has requested? I mean, are they a sovereign country? Of course they are, right? They're sovereign country friends. And this is Bilal. So I'm going to read this for you. Let me just finding my stuff because I write it down. And I put a sticky notes to myself. I need to read this to you. Okay, here. So this information, let me see. It's a French persecutor. Yeah, here. The French persecutor concluded, which this is a picture of the persecutor right on the first screenshots on the right. So the French persecutor concluded that the investigation of the circumstances of the death of Wang Jian is completed, and to this day, no criminal offense has been found. No criminal offense has been found. And Mr. Wang alone climbed onto the wall before losing balance, falling on the other side and dying. Basically, this is a small print on that screenshots, and I just typed it here so I remember myself to read it to you. So basically, he said, Wang Jian alone, he emphasized, Wang Jian alone climbed onto the wall. Nobody else is pushed in, nobody did anything else. He willingly climbed on the wall before losing balance, falling on the other side, and died. Okay, so that's the French persecutor. That's why they closed the case. And in the screenshots, the bottom one, it says videotape evidence was wiped out by the police. So how did we find out? So this is the case. So the first investigation team sent by Miles saw. They watched the videotapes recording, the hotel activities. They watched it, but when they went back again, okay, the tape with the subject period marked from March 27th to July 23rd was deleted. Okay, so March, April, May, June, July, 5 months was deleted. Okay, from the hotel video. The tape rewriting period was also reset to 14 days. Okay, so of course, before the reset, it was longer, at least 5 months, right? But after the second time, they went back to see that the tape rewriting period was also reset, only 14 days, only 2 weeks, captured the video, 2 weeks. In between the first and the second visit by the independent investigation team, the police had possession of the videotape. So that was the little small prints of the small font on the at the bottom of the screenshot. So I just type it out and read it to you. So why would the French police do that? For any country, just for common sense, like any country, if the police, if the law enforcement departments or personnel to do an investigation, they would try to everything to preserve the evidence But why would they wipe out everything? Why would they? I think one intention is not having anybody else lay a hands on them, right? So that's why they wipe out. But why? And why they reset everything? So this is a lot of question. The only things here Miles said is suspicion we have is they were doing this based on the demands of the Chinese Communist Party. And remember, the Chinese Communist Party sent an official request letter for legal assistance on July 10th, but the 5-state security person has already on the ground on July 3rd midnight. They've already arrived. Forego those diplomatic procedures, protocols, and nothing matters, right? So, and the French people and the French side actually helped them to do that. And who are those helpers that the CCP enlisted? Who are those people that in a crucial governmental position that's supposed to protect and uphold justice that helped CCP to wipe out all those not only evidence but make up fake testimonies and Meng Hongwei and helped the Interpol head of Meng Hongwei to falsify, tampering the testimonies? Why? You have to really ask this question. So, and I want to go to the slides 18 because slides 18, we've mentioned this before, okay? But Wang Jian's death happened in France. Okay, let's take a look back to the those peoples on this slide. There's a lot of people's faces that were very familiar, and these are the peoples that all involved in the PAX case against Miles. Okay, we have been spending quite a bit of time. The first 10 episodes we've been talking about this case, and throughout the last 10, we also, periodically mentioned this case, because this case is the thread. So really, these people, these are the network, these are the assets, these are the seemingly independent middlemen, according to Christopher Wray, the FBI director, in his speech delivered in 2020. These are the seemingly independent parties, but they all helped the kleptocrats. Rather than saying CCP, I would say the kleptocrats, the kleptocracy. Okay, those top individuals who obtained the power, for example, in this particular slide, Wang Qishan again, they're helping Wang Qishan. They're helping Wang Qishan destroy Wang Qishan's and CCP's enemy, which is Miles Guo and the whistleblower movement. And then we know that Shan Weijian, the PAG, where the Plantif, the parent company of the PAX, is headed by Shan Weijian, is also a, like Wang Jian, a white gloves and a spy. And I wouldn't be surprised if Shan Weijian has multiple Chinese passports. I would not be surprised, because we saw Wang Jian's passport, and there's many more that Miles did not show us. And back to those cronies that they recruited in the West that willingly to do things, for the CCP for whatever reason, for money, for women, for coercion or blackmail. They did something wrong and they videotaped by CCP, and CCP used that as a leverage against them. They could possibly be, because that's a common tactics that CCP would use. All those people in lawyers and judicial systems. Is there anybody, infiltrated by the CCP has already did a black deal under the table with the CCP? Of course they are, because we know the Richard Franco. We already talked about who Richard Franco is. We already talked about who Wu Zhen is. How did they, and they all emerged, they all surfaced, in the Miles Guo and PAX case. This is very similar to what we've seen in France, what just happened around the Wang Jian's death. It's a network of people. It's a network of those criminals, the helping criminals, accomplice, right? They've done dirty, unethical, and illegal deals with the kleptocrats of the CCP. And on this On this slide, we also mentioned about the United States, those financial Wall Street tycoons like Ray Dalio and Steve Schwarzman. Ray Dalio recently just made an announcement that he's stepping down from the chief investor of the Bridgewater company, his own company. So, these are the people who are the insider. They know a lot more than the deplorables, and really, we can only get to know a tiny little bit truth, from the whistleblower movement. If we don't have whistleblower movement, then we don't have any truth. Because Miles Gore mentioned about the mass media reports. All those stories appear at the media outlets. They are all written. They are all already losing, their original form. They're no longer truth. They're edited, and they're heavily subject to manipulation. So really, what is the truth? But from those patterns, we see the next slide, 19. We're going to go to the slide 19. So that was America. America has a huge network of people that CCP planted and recruited and cultivated over the past decades, past 2 or 3 decades. So does France. The Wang Jian's case exposed that. The ridicule of the French government and the police. And I'm sure in the French government, there are a lot of people who are good people, but they need to face the fact, they need to face the reality is the CCP has heavily infiltrated in their country. And these are the people on the screen are helping Chinese rather than helping their own government. And these are French citizens. And number one is Daniel Ovier. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. You need to remember his name. He is Wang Qishan's good friend. He is the trip arranged for Wang Jian's for Wang Jian's trip in Provence. And he's also the venture partner investment firm called Equity. Okay, they never about equity. It's kind of ridiculous. All those communism fans, they always telling you equity, good things that you wanted to hear, but they're doing exactly opposite. They're truly hypocrites. Okay, and so he is very influential. And the second person is, I mentioned, Gerard Huabing. He has been, living in France since he was 18 years old. Okay, and now he's look like he's middle 50 or even 60. So he has been doing a lot of damage and helping the CCP to infiltrate to a democratic and free society. And this is exactly what Miles trying to tell the people in the world. Back in 2017, he tried, attempted with the Hudson Institute to deliver a speech on the kleptocrats' threat to the world, but it got canceled because also at that time, the U.S. Hudson Institute was caved under the pressure of the CCP. But we saw that again in 2018, Wang Jian's death investigation. They caved in to the CCP. So again, the kleptocrats, because those people are helping the CCP, and the democracy and freedom are losing grounds. And CCP and the Wang Qishan, he is just a representative of the kleptocrats. Back in communist China, we have more people like Wang Qishan. Wang Qishan is probably the most successful kleptocrats, let's put that way. But there's many more back in China. Miles once mentioned there's 100 families. These 100 CCP's families pretty much control pretty much the world. Not only the 1.4 billion, but through their proxies in the West countries, they pretty much control the world. Okay, and the number 3 people, again, is very influential. Sylvia Alzia, sorry if I say her last name wrong, but she is the CEO of she now is the CEO of, I can't see it, Group's shared platform. But he was the president, I think, Asia Pacific of Alliance, which is the insurance company that breaking into the Chinese market. They become the first insurance company that can sell insurance in Hong Kong. So you name it, Wang Qishan is controlling the financial market in China, and they obtained the license. So you go figure what's the deal trading behind. And, so the deplorables suffer at the end. And the four is a travel agency that provided all the transportation and the drivers. They are approved and backed by the Chinese government, Chinese embassy in French. Okay, so these are all the insiders. They work together, and we don't know as of today how badly the France as a country has been infiltrated by the CCP, but from the Wang Jian's desk, we can kind of shed light on that. Okay, so I think this is pretty much today's content. I've managed to keep it all together. Oh, sorry, I still have a couple more. Let's go to slides 20s. I'm going to quickly go over it. Slide 20, this is a picture that I captured. I think it's a really well picture to tell you how CCP infiltrate. One of the main things they infiltrate is economy, is through their commercial undertakings, okay, just like a PAG. Here the example is PAG. PAG is the equity investment forum. They attracting, investors, those greedy Wall Street or whoever, businessmen or investors, they want to make more money. The Chinese government or kleptocrats using those schemes to attract them. They open arms to welcome you, to say, hey, come to the China. We have the market. We have 1.4 billion slaves. We can make you super rich. So they, through their opening their market to the Westerners, they highly integrated the financial and commerce with the Western world. That is why decoupling with China is so difficult. I mean, you can get rid of Iran, you can get rid of North Korea if you really wanted to, because there's relatively, independent. The Western country is independent relatively, right? If you have Saudis backing on oil, if you have, and American has lots of oil, they actually can produce oil, so they don't have to be dependent on Iran or North Korea, but they have to depend on China, because these economic integration and financial integration are like this. So if you have a cancer, if you have a cancerous cells growing in your body, and part of your body is linked against on those cancerous cell, and those cancerous cell will killing you at the end. But it's difficult to get rid of them because you might have to hurt your own organ, your healthy organ. You might lose your limb, you might lose your legs. But that's exactly why it's so difficult. But if the Western world, if the free society, if the democracy does not get rid of the CCP and their infiltration, they're gonna die. Democracy gonna die. This is exactly the warning that the Miles has trying to warn the world back in 2017 with evidence, with top secret classified documents obtained from CCP, but nobody listened. They turned a blind eye. Remember the intro video that Ben asked, who turned a blind eye? Who benefited from this? Who turned a blind eye? These people needs to be called on today. They need to have consequences. Otherwise, things will continue and will get worse. So this is the quick peek into the next slides. Slide 21. Again, I want to bring the slides is. We've mentioned the slides multiple times already in the show. Again, back to the FBI Director Christopher Wray's words. It's saying that CCP is using all tools, all sector approach to actually infiltrate, to attack the democracy. Okay, this is just a map. They're already all over the world. They're in France, they're in United States, they're in UK, they're in Australia, they're in every single continent that you can imagine. Of course, they're in South America. Of course, they're in Africa. Of course, in Latin America. They're everywhere. And this is all their deployment. They use 1,000 talent plans. They use, United Front Work Department. They use Confucius Institute, which we all touched about in our show. So if you're interested to see all of this, you can watch the previous episode. But they're using many fronts to actually attack the Western democracy, economic, media, social media, military, which is the virus, the COVID-19 virus, and vaccine and technology, surveillance technology and digital yuan. It's coming. It's going to replacing. They're threatening. They want it to be the Chinese digital yuan be taking American dollar's position to be the #1 superpower in the world. They have already planned this for decades. That's why we have a book, called 100 Years Marathon. By 2049, they're aiming to be the #1 superpower. Okay, so through their BGY plan and 3F plan, we have explaining our show, so you can watch the previous episodes to capture on that. So the last episode we're going to talk about is in our show next. So our next show is the last episode about Wang Jian's death, and we're going to wrap up right there. Me and Nicole will finish this topic and move on. But in our last show, we will talk about why did Wang Jian die in France, not China? Because many of you were thinking, if this is staged, why did they staged everything in France, not China? Because in China it will be a lot easier, right? Every day we have so many people die, so many dissidents disappeared. It will be a lot easier, a lot clean. Why did they want to move this to France and making such a big, commotion and attracting the world media? So we will explain this to you, and as Miles explained. Okay, so thank you so much for listening and watching this show, and we will see you next Monday at 1 p.m. and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
为了生存只能拼命挣钱，财富是他们画下的大饼，虚幻背后发现全都是陷阱，各种经济暴雷，房价崩得稀碎，抬起头前路一片漆黑。Welcome to the war, to the new war. Welcome to the war, yes, going to the moon. Welcome to the war, to the new war. Welcome to the war, yes, going to the moon. Yes, going to the moon. Yes, going to the moon. 安全对前沿加密技术出手，让你的财富没人能夺走。稳定币、浮动币设计天下无双，还有20%黄金挂钩，摧毁不停压榨你的机器，从此不再做金钱的奴隶。洗脸处的大门永远敞开向你，前途光明就在洗币。Welcome to the world.